not your grandmother's comedy show. Although, literally, I think it is some of your grandmother's comedy show. That's okay. I'm so excited for tonight. Me and all the people in the green room have been working for the last month, learning how to write jokes, learning stage presence, learning how to talk into a microphone, which is harder than you think, sharing stories, getting to know each other, and at the end of the month, we're all buddies, I hope. Okay, I hear silence, that's good. We're all friends. We've learned so much, we've grown together and had a total blast. I'm so excited to share their comedy with you tonight. So I'd like to thank the Zach, who gave us a practice space and a performance space. Let's hear it for the Zach. I'd also like to thank the University of Montana and the CoLab for Civic Imagination, who funded this whole thing, which is wonderful, so we could pay the comedians so that we could have this practice space and pull all of this off. We also got to offer the workshop totally for free, which is amazing. So let's hear it for them as well. I also want to say there was a couple of comedians who couldn't make it tonight. They got COVID and sadly have gone on to quarantine. They're better now and they're in quarantine. So, we didn't lose anybody. Okay? Really good track record so far, which is good. This is the first time that I've taught seniors. It's been a real learning experience to me. I thought it was going to be super hard, but then I realized it's just like the comedy camp I run for children every summer. Very similar. Everyone has to go to the bathroom once an hour. That's fine. Everyone's very excited, and everyone is totally hilarious, which I love. The other thing that's kind of similar, and this is not a joke, is that I think a lot of times the same types of people do stand-up comedy. We see a lot of, younger middle-aged people. We see a lot of privileged people on stage telling the same types of stories, and one of the things that I've loved so much over the last month is hearing stories from different types of people who might not normally be on stage, and I hope that you like it too. It's funny, I hope. Before we get started, I want to welcome a special person to the stage. This show would not happen without him. He's the guy behind the CoLab for Civic Imagination, and I just wanted him to come up and kind of tell you more about what he does and how this show happened. So please welcome Michael Rode, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to be really quick because the good stuff is coming back there. My name is Michael Rode. I'm the director of the CoLab for Civic Imagination, which is a year-old center at the University of Montana. We believe that art and artists make communities healthier, make communities more connected, make communities able to take on challenges together. We do things like we help get artists paid by the city to work with Parks and Rec as listeners in communities around the city of Missoula, working on their new strategic plan. We work with folks around the state of Montana on using theater to bring more public dialogue around mental health into our communities. Got a big project on that. And this project is a part of a new program. Well, we're a year old, everything's new. But part of something called Civic Imagination Commissions, where we put out a call across the state of Montana for any artists or culture makers who basically felt like their work connected to the civic life of their community to just apply for some money and sort of then to become a cohort. So we had a bunch of applications, and the panel chose 3 projects, which include this amazing work and Sarah's amazing work. There's also, let's applaud for Sarah. So we're thrilled just to get to learn from her work and the work of Jackie Vetter and Anna Condon doing an incredible theater project, and Dave Hutchins in Butte doing an incredible environmental art project around environmental justice issues. It's an incredible group of artists. Our website is umcivicimagination.com. That was built, by the way, by the remarkable Rebecca Carson, who also helped make this happen from the CoLab. There's Rebecca there. She can wave. So that's it. Just really thrilled to be here. Thrilled to get to enjoy the event. Thank you, Sarah, for your amazing work, and thank you to everyone behind the curtain and in the green room for what we know will be a hilarious, enlightening, and surprising evening, I'm sure. So thank you for being here.
Keep it going for Michael and Rebecca and their amazing program. All right, are you ready to hear some jokes? We have 6 comedians for you tonight. They're all going to do about 10 minutes of comedy. Please feel free to get drinks during the show. You're not going to bother anyone or interrupt anybody by doing that. Please realize that this is the first time most of them have ever been on stage doing stand-up comedy. So imagine what that's like, and please laugh, but not in the bad way. I don't think we have to worry about it, but what else? Our first comedian called me and said that this has been something he's wanted to do for his whole life, and I'm so glad that he's going to get to do it tonight. He also wanted to be introduced as the great and powerful, which I find very confident. He's kind of a new Missoulian, like many seniors in town. He moved here to be nearer to his family after he retired. I'm so happy to introduce to you Rick Hall. Come on, Rick.
Thanks everybody for coming. We are all new up here, and I'd have been here sooner, but I was in the bathroom, so every hour. This is a senior comedy show, and I just want to remind you that we're all seniors, and if you don't laugh, that may be our last memories. No pressure, really. So I'm newly retired and single. Ladies, I know you're admiring my six-pack, right? Did I say six-pack? I meant to say sugar sack. So Medicare started for me about a year ago. I'm 66 as of August. And that's made me acutely aware of medication prices. And that happens when you become on that socialized medicine that everybody hates. But I love it. But one thing I've learned about medicine is if it's got a commercial on prime time and a jingle, you probably can't afford it. So I found out that Ozempic means no, not covered. So watch out for that. You may have noticed that I'm a pretty big guy, right? This isn't something new for me. I was 6 feet tall in the 6th grade and 6'3" in high school. And I know short people think it's just a blast being tall. And sometimes it is. It's great at the concerts. I can see over people. It's great in crowds. I can breathe. But there are other times where it's not. Things that you think are fine heights are not fine heights for me. So I have to kind of be careful about things I run into. And as an example, things like, ceiling fans. I've done a couple of those. Lighting fixtures, I've done a couple of those. My sister's carport, I've managed to almost knock myself out on that one. And just about every tailgate of every SUV that's ever existed. And I have one, and this is me most of the time. So, and then like most people, I do this. Like, where did that come from? It's right in front of me. It's my own car, for crying out loud. So, the other thing that's dangerous for big guys like me, I know it doesn't sound like it to you, but it's chairs. By the way, I've got a big thing of water here because I'm old and slightly water buffalo. So, for 24 years, I've been going to Mexico, and I didn't realize it at the time, but you need to examine the structure of chairs when you're as big as I am. So I'm in Mexico with a buddy of mine, and there between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we go to this really nice dinner. And it's a dinner by a Canadian woman, and it's got turkey and all the fixings, and it's mainly made for gringos and Canadians. I think they're the same thing, actually. And so there's about 150 people all dressed in their finest khaki shorts and Hawaiian shirts. And we're all sitting outside on the patio with these plastic tables and these plastic Corona chairs. I know you've seen them. Corona, Pacifico, I think the reason they're so ubiquitous is that they're free. So we're all sitting at the chairs, we're sharing a table with another couple. It's a really nice event. And I decide that I'm going to scoot my chair up a little bit. And as I scoot my little Corona chair up, the leg of the chair gets caught on a cobblestone and it explodes in a large bang like a gunshot. And one minute I'm sitting on the chair, the next minute I'm sitting on the ground, and there are no identifiable pieces of the chair left. It just turned into shrapnel. It went everywhere. And of course, there was, by the way, kids up on the stage singing Christmas carols from the local school with a PA system. So when the bang went off, they stopped singing. Everybody in the place turns around and staring at me, or the top of my head, I guess, actually. And so, and my buddy, being the great friend that he is on the other side of the table, taking pictures. Not helping me out. No, he's getting ready to post it to Facebook. So what can I do? I get back up, and everybody's looking at me, and I go, thank you. I do 2 shows a night. Make sure you tip your servers. And then I went and found another chair. So that was so mortifying that after that, I went back home, and I lost 150 pounds. No, that's not true. I just doubled up the chairs so it would never happen again. So I didn't lose 150 pounds. So when you're my size, you kind of learn to conserve energy. I'm proud to say I am probably one of the laziest men on earth. And in fact, my spirit animal is a sloth. I find ways to do everything as easy as I possibly can. In fact, I've got a robot lawnmower. I bet you've never seen one of those. It's like a Roomba for grass. And my neighbor kids are just absolutely fascinated by it. They watch it every day. They call it Bob. They gave it a name. So I'm the excitement of Bonner Milltown with my robotic mower. So I do watch a lot of TV, and like many people during the pandemic, I started watching some really weird crap. Suddenly I'm watching Korean zombie movies, Norwegian disaster movies, by the way, most of them are in fjords, in case you're wondering, and Spanish crime capers. I really got involved in true crime stories, probably because I started watching or listening to the Murdoch Murder podcast. If you don't know who Alec Murdoch is, Google it. He's terrible. He's a double murderer, maybe triple murderer. Yeah, so he's not a good guy. So when the pandemic happened, I guess I needed a lot darker than Judge Judy. I started watching all these weird crime shows. There's 2 channels that are devoted to that. One is Oxygen. It used to be a women's drama channel, and now it's a women getting murdered channel, which is a pretty weird thing. And then there's ID, which stands for Investigation Discovery, but really should be I'm Dead. So these are all real names of shows, I just want to tell you. I think Sarah didn't think they were real when we practiced, but Killer Relationships, I like that one. Snapped, the tourism promos, New York Homicide, and Real Murders of Atlanta and Real Murders of Orange County, just in case you wanted your Real Housewives to kill themselves. So there's the murder tapes, which is all confessions all the time. One of my favorites, Homicide for the Holidays. I'm not kidding you. This is a real thing. Because nothing says holiday spirit like murder. Fear Thy Neighbor, which I think is shot mainly in Florida. Blood and Money, and Ice Cold Blood with Iced Tea. And I swear that's a new one. Somehow Iced Tea is now on a murder show. And if you think you might have a drinking problem, please watch Late Night Lockup, which shows that nothing good happens after midnight. And you will hear the phrase, "You know who I am," repeatedly from people. And I'm usually saying, yeah, the drunk guy is entertaining me on TV right now. And if you wanted being fearful of humans isn't enough, there's Nat Geo's Something Bit Me. And you can just fill in the dots there. And my really favorite show and the winner of the Captain Obvious Award is Buried in the Backyard. I mean, you know where the body is from the very beginning of the show. It's sort of a giveaway, right? If they cross killer relationships with that, you know who did it and where the body is. I think that people, the reason these shows are so popular is people kind of like the macabre, the weird, the circus geek, all those kind of things. We can't look away from that kind of stuff. At least I can't. And to prove that that's universal for a lot of people, well, case in point is my 6-year-old great niece, Charlie, who's sitting right here. Charlie went to comedy camp here with Sarah, and I was so proud of her. She did so well. She was the youngest kid in the comedy camp. By the way, I'm almost the youngest guy in the senior camp. One guy younger than me. So she's absolutely fascinated by this. I have an amputated index finger that happened when I was 12 years old inside a motorcycle sprocket. Don't ask me how, it's a long story. So she's so fascinated by that finger, I found out she looks at it all the time. But one time we went to MCT, and I went to get water at MCT. Her sister was performing in a play. And I went to get water, and she dragged me back to the concession stand and had me put my hand on the counter to show the concession lady, "Look, my uncle's missing his finger. He cut it off when he was 12. And the lady just like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." So months later, I had the great opportunity and an honor to be able to pick Charlie up from her last day of kindergarten. And I was briefed on the process. I really don't know how to do that. And so I waited with all the parents underneath the parent tree. Evidently there's a parent tree. And then each teacher brings the kids out one at a time with their class. So I'm waiting, and Charlie comes out with her class, and she immediately runs over and grabs me by the hand. And she goes, Uncle Rick, I want you to meet my teacher. And I go, "Well, it's your last day, isn't it?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I want you to meet my teacher." I said, "Charlie, you're not really going to take me over there and show him my finger, are you?" And she's like, No, I just want you to meet him. So she drags me over to the teacher and goes, "This is my Uncle Rick. He cut his finger off in a motorcycle sprocket when he was 12. So, yeah, I saw that one coming. And what Charlie doesn't know is that when I was 12, I was a little macabre and weird too. I took my fingertip and put it in a box and took it to school with me for 2 weeks. And then showed it to everybody I possibly could just to gross them out. And after about 2 weeks, the finger disappeared. I'm pretty sure my cat ate it. So just so you know, when my cat finally passed on, he was buried in the backyard with my finger. Thank you, everybody.
Keep it going for Rick, everybody! I need to watch more TV. Our next comedian has worn many hats in her life. She's been a farmer, a massage therapist, a bookkeeper, a grandma, a great grandma, a badass biker bitch. And she's completely hilarious. Please welcome Debbie Randall. Debbie, everybody!
I'm moving this stand because I don't want to be in competition with it because it's like as tall as I am. So I'm moving it. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, especially thank you to Sarah. Thank you for my little group of fans out here and friends that came. I'm really happy to see everybody. Thanks to Rick, I get to follow the big guy. So I really like being up here because the first time in my life I get to look down on people because at almost 5'2", because when you're short you always round up a little bit, I get to finally look down because I've spent my entire life looking up at everybody. So when I turned, I don't know, what is it, 12, 13, when you start growing up, and all my friends started growing up, but not me, I started growing out. And so I didn't have that really fun body shape like, people talk about an apple shape or a pear shape. I didn't have that. I grew watermelons and not the little, round, seedless, nice watermelons. And my watermelons really stuck out there. And on a 5 foot, almost to 90-pound frame, they were sort of what everybody saw in me for years and years and years. So when they looked at me, it was like this, it was like these things. So that was a little hard to deal with. Also, just furniture. Furniture is not made for 5'2", busty women. So I'd sit at a desk, everything's ergonomic. My feet are swinging. Like, where do I put these things? Where's the keyboard? It was really, really hard. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted somebody to invent a desk that lowered instead of raised or that you stood at. I don't know, it just didn't work for me. So when I turned, I don't know, maybe 4 decades went by, which, when you get to be our age, you don't count years anymore, you call them decades. So when I got to my 50s, I decided I needed a horizontal adjustment. I couldn't do it anymore. I was so tired of trying to hold those babies up. So I went to the doctor. And the doctor said, okay, yeah, we can do it. And I'm like, okay, doc, so is there any way you can take some of the stuff that's here, like put it down here, give me a couple more inches? He assured me modern medicine had not come that far, and then I was kind of afraid, well, maybe I feel like I was being groped all the time. I was walking around. I don't know, maybe not. Anyway. That didn't happen, so I'm still 5'1", 0.71, because that's what I am. So luckily, I married a man who's 6'2", so that's really handy. I can say, hey, honey, would you come be tall for me? And he will. He's really great about that. And it's really handy, like at Grizz football games, because I can just hook into his belt loop and just follow him through the crowd. Wherever he goes, I follow. So the only awkward thing with having a 6'2" husband is sex, because sometimes when this part lines up, this part doesn't. This part lines up, this part doesn't. But, you get creative. Okay. Yeah. So one advantage about being short is you're closer to the ground if you drop something. And let's see, there's got to be a couple of, oh yeah, if you're holding a child's hand as you walk along, you don't have to bend over to do that. So, I guess I'm just not going to grow. So, the other challenge I have in life is that I'm a morning person. So not only am I short, but I get up at like 5:30 every morning, which, if you're a morning person, I understand if you're in the closet, because you get a lot of hassle about being a morning person. So I don't know, I've been sleeping in my old age till like 10 after 6. So that seems like a really long time to sleep in. But I get up, I make the coffee, my dogs get up with me, and before I know it, they're back in bed. They don't even stay up with me. So morning people, I don't know, it's like by, 9 o'clock. It feels like noon. We're ready to charge through the world. The day's half over. And at 9 o'clock, the rest of the world's just kind of getting started. So my worst thing about being a morning person is when the time changes. Excuse me. So, it's really great in the spring because my bedtime is about 8:30. And in the springtime, the spring springs forward. And so then my bedtime's like 9:30 and it's lighter. And sometimes I can even stay up till about 10. But then as the summer wears on and the days start getting shorter, so then it's getting dark, I don't know, 9, 8:30 maybe. And so then fall hits and the time falls forward, and now, falls back, sorry. So now, get it straight. So now, instead of going to bed at 8:30, I'm ready for bed at 7:30. So I really got to work at getting my time back. So in the last year, I became a great-grandmother. Any great-grandmothers out there? Woo-hoo! Yeah, I know I don't look old enough, but that's okay. There's been a lot of changes since I had children. So I had my children in the late 70s in rural Montana. Barely had electricity, it felt like. And absolutely nothing was disposable, which is the greatest thing there is today. Lots of things are disposable. So we had cloth diapers. I don't know, maybe some of you people remember cloth diapers, big square thing of cotton that you folded one way for a girl, another way for a boy. And they had safety pins with the big plastic things on them. I still have PTSD of pushing those pins through the diapers, wondering who's going to get hit, me or the baby. I won't fess up to how many times the baby got poked. I had my diaper pail. Was this cute little thing beside the crib, but about the first time a kid crawled over there and dumped that ammonia smelling diaper pail out. I went to the local cafe, I got myself a locking 5-gallon pickle barrel, and I wedged it in between the tub and the toilet. Never had that problem again. So the next generation of kids, when my granddaughters were born, so when I did it, and I'm stealing this term from my golf friends, it's a new term called husband. So instead of man I was married to at the time, my husband at the time believed that absolutely anything and everything that had to do with raising a child, feeding a child, changing a child's diapers was all women's work. So he didn't help at all. But when my granddaughter was born, my son-in-law actually changed diapers. I was blown away. And he bought the baby this thing called a baby butt wipe warmer. So you put the wipes in there, warms them up. No kid was going to have a cold wipe on his butt. Well, things have improved even more. So now we have an app. We have an app for absolutely everything there is to raise a baby. So on the app my granddaughter uses, it shows how much the baby eats. It shows how much the baby sleeps, and my all-time favorite is the one called diaper. So the diaper part of the app, has 6 different choices for the texture of the poop. It has 5 different choices for the color of the poop. And it has a little button at the bottom, and if it's a blowout, you can push. And I'm wondering, does it go? I'm not sure what you accomplish with that. It's like, and what are parents going to do with all this information? Like, if my great-grandson runs for president, is going to be like, oh yes, this is my poop schedule from when I was a year until I was 3. I don't know. Seems like a little, I'm not sure what it does, but she seems to use it. There's another app that measures leaks. So there's no terrible twos or those kind of things. Now they have leaps, which are mental growth spurts, which are kind of handy, actually. The app actually describes what the baby's going to do and when they're going to do it. It's pretty handy, I guess. So, I don't know, I think that we all, as we've gotten older, have different ways of looking back and seeing what we did with our kids. But I think the most important thing is they need an app that does more than just tell you all these things. Maybe we need a robot like Rick has for his lawn, one that will actually change the baby's diaper so you don't have to deal with the poop in any way. But we don't have to deal with poop because they have a hermetically sealed diaper pail now with a lid and a lock, so there's no chance of it getting tipped over. But the other thing I think we need is all us senior citizens need to have warm wipes for our tiny house. Thank you.
For Debbie. Okay, our next comedian, we have a special guest with us. I co-taught the workshop with a stand-up in town here who's absolutely wonderful. She's also, Lynn, I don't know how to say this, on the older side. She's mature. That's what they would say on Pornhub, I think. She's a mainstay of the comedy community here in Missoula. She's wonderful. She's a mentor of mine. I was so happy she could help out with this workshop. Please welcome Lynn Solomon, everybody.
And the youngest person on the bill trips up the stairs. Folks, before I get started, I always like to say that the Missoula comedy scene is the best in Montana. It is the most inclusive, it is the most diverse, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and one of them is Sarah Aswell, so put your hands together. Bringing different voices to the comedy scene in Missoula and in Montana, nobody does it better, so we're super, super lucky for that. Holy buckets, are these people hysterical or what? I love being here at the ZAC. It is one of my favorite rooms to do comedy in Montana. And I love tonight that senior citizens get in for $5. But here's the thing, Sarah. I think we billed it wrong. I think we promoted it wrong. I don't think we should be like, oh, you get the senior discount. I think the regular price should be $5 for older folks. And I think the higher price should be like a penalty for people who are younger. So Michaela and Joe will talk about that for future shows. So this is so delightful because I am the youngest person on the bill. I am 56 years old. I always like to say I am single. I don't have any children that I know of. And every time I mention that, somebody in the audience goes, you know, Lynn, if you had children, you would know. And I always say, thank you for coming to comedy night. But it's a very, 56 is a very strange age to be. To quote the late, great Stephen Sondheim, I am too old for the young people, and I am too young for the old people. Any 50, thank you, another 56-year-old here in the audience, right, we'll talk later. It's just a weird age to be. I always say my dentist is 12, right? The older we get, the younger people of significance in our life get. So my dentist, for the record, and I hope he's not, he knows I do stand-up about him. And once he found out, our relationship got a little weird, but I have absolute faith in his dentisting, but he's kind of got this youthful, I don't call him Dr. whatever, I call him Joe. So he's always like, hey Lynn, how's it going? I'm like, hi, Joe. And then the first time when the first time you see a dentist, they go through your teeth and they, your teeth are numbered. And they do a whole chart of this tooth is missing and this tooth has a occlusal seal and this one has a whatever. So he's going through and he's saying to his assistant, well, there's a filling on number 21 or whatever. And the assistant goes, doctor, don't you mean 22? And he goes, yeah, 22. You think I'm exaggerating. Yeah. So I always just wish he could be a smidge more dentisty. I am delighted, however, to be 56 for lots of reasons. Mostly, I am now old enough to live in one of those senior citizen apartment buildings. Right? Right? It's very exciting. I mean, it's, the Missoula housing market. So, but then I wonder, I mean, like, if I go into one of those apartment buildings, am I like the young hottie? I mean, by the way, I didn't realize Rick was single. Well, I'm going to talk to him later about that. But here's the other weird thing. I actually toured one of them. I called the guy. I was like, hey, I'm interested in potentially, living in the building. And he goes, well, we have an age limit. I'm like, I know. And I need it. So I went and I toured, and she was like, this is not the right time for me to do this, blah, 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 blah. Well, just the other day, I got a message from him that there's 2 apartments open in the building. And part of me is like, sweet. And then the other part of me is like, what happened? Right. And I mean, jury's still out. Like, no guarantees I won't take advantage of it. So I quit, a few years ago, I quit coloring my hair. But I'm not like, you can woo for that if you like. I didn't do it to like embrace aging. I just did it because I can't afford it anymore. But as soon as I quit coloring my hair, I started getting offered the senior discount. I don't know why I'm telling these people, youngsters. You'll agree. I said I started getting offered the senior discount at grocery stores. And at first I was really offended. And then I was like, well, how much is it? And then, this woman I was working with at the time, she said to me, I forget what grocery store, Rose Hours, first Tuesday of the month, senior discount, they don't even card. Okay. Right. Okay, so, can we give Debbie a round of applause for talking about old people having sex? Her husband, wherever he is mortified, but whatever. So, this is a really weird segue to now me not talking about having sex, talking about not having sex. Dating when you are a 56-year-old woman in Missoula is just weird. Everybody's like groaning. I mean, I've done the apps and all that stuff, which, I won't do jokes about dating apps because that shit writes itself. But I had communicated with this guy who lived out in the Bitterroot, really nice guy, and we talked on the phone a lot. Like, he actually talked on the phone. He actually used the phone as a phone. And then we finally met, and I never heard from him again. But that's another conversation. But while we were talking on the phone with a potential romantic partner at this age is not the same as it used to be, right? So you're like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm getting ready for bed. Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, I just put in my night guard. Oh yeah? I'm just gonna put on my compression socks. Yeah, I'm turning on my white noise app. Oh, well, I'm just sliding into my CPAP. You can come to every show. So can I talk to you guys about, I am going to talk to you about part of my dating life. Are you okay? Can we do that? It's like a very group therapy session. So, this is a true story. The 2 most significant romantic relationships in my life have both been with men who portrayed Santa. Now, it's not just that they look like Santa. Because let's be honest, 80% of the 56-year-old men in Missoula look like Santa. But they actually, during Christmas seasons, they would be Santa for like kids parties and, events and stuff like that. So, and I can show you photos. Clearly I have a type. Jolly. And then I was like, well, I don't have father issues. I have Father Christmas issues. And then my sister, I have a sister who's 11 months younger than me. You can move for that if you like. But, and she said to me, is that your kink? Your Chris Kinkle? And my other sister, she said, is he single and ready to jingle? Everyone's a comedian in the Solomon family. But it's weird, okay? It's weird. Like, it's just, it's strange when you're in a relationship with Santa. You have to have a lot of self-confidence, because you just don't know how many people have sat on that lap. And when he looks at you and says, ho, ho, ho. And then there's the time, you're having a little sexy time, a little naughty talk. And he's, well, who's the naughty girl? It doesn't work. Because he knows. And then, all right. Invariably, and these are both lovely men, these are both lovely guys. Invariably, it ends, right? But you guys, he sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. Stalker. My name's Lynn Solomon, thanks so much.
Keep it going for Lynn. Lynn does a ton of shows around Missoula. The next time you can see her, well, one of the next times, she's doing our annual sock drive on November 9th right here at the ZAC. We give the pub enough socks to get them through winter for everybody there. And yeah, it's going to be a great show. So, you can come see that. All right, next up, this guy has been an educator for 40 years. He was an arbitrator. I don't know what that is. I don't know if I said it right. I just know him as a funny guy. He's a proud Ukrainian. Please welcome Larry Milenu, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, so good to be here tonight. I don't know where I am, actually. What can I say? Now, Sarah mentioned that I'm very proud of my Ukrainian heritage, and I am. But as you know, the Ukrainians are involved in a horrible war with the Russian army right now. But to try to keep their spirits up, they try to insert a little humor into the situation once in a while. So here is a piece of modern Ukrainian humor. The Ukrainians are praying to God. Oh Lord, thank you for our many blessings. Our beautiful fertile soil that's the best in Europe. Our glorious long rivers that wind through beautiful farmlands forever. Our glorious 1,000-year-old culture. Lord, what can we do to thank you for all these blessings? And God responds, well, maybe I ought to introduce you to your neighbors first. It's so true. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not what my program is about tonight. It's really about computers. I hate them. And they hate me. I mean, my family will attest to that, right, family? Okay, yes, yeah. And not only that, it's a real problem because the computers are getting smarter and I'm not. You know? I mean, you've heard of this thing called artificial intelligence, right? Yeah, oh, watch out for AI. I gotta tell you, my computer's developing a real attitude problem. It thinks it's a comedian. Last night it told me it thought that a trans-Siberian was a dog masquerading as a human. I don't know what to say, but it won't even let me choose passwords. Just trying to create a password, that's all I want to do. So I tried to enter my first password and I chose something very simple, like beef stew, okay, one word, yeah? The computer says that's not stroganoff. Who ordered this machine anyway? So then I thought, well, I'll choose something simple but that has numeric characters and letters in it. I'm trying to be smart. So I chose the password 14 days, right? Computer says that's too weak. W-E-E-K. Well, now I'm getting really angry with this machine. I'm telling you, it's got my goat. So I'm going to try to select a very assertive password. So my next password was my manhood. One word. All caps. Bold. Computer says that's not long enough. So then I gotta get smarter than this machine, okay? So I'm trying to think of maybe some dialogue from famous movies, okay? Well, it'll allow me to use that as a password, okay? So I come up with this creative thing, and the password is One Forest One. Do you know where that came from? Yeah, well, the computer wouldn't let me use it. It said it gumped up its processor completely. I really am lost, ladies and gentlemen. So figured I'm gonna do this machine in, and I selected my next password as incorrect. And I thought, oh, get this machine. It'll say your password is incorrect, but then it'll think your password is incorrect, and it won't be able to handle it. Then, yes, right, I got it this time. So I entered that password, and the computer started looping a whole bunch of times, and finally it just burned itself out like that. And I said, take that, you rotten machine. And this last message was, joke's on you, you just fried my motherboard and you've got to buy a new machine yourself. What am I going to do now? So I had to buy a new machine. And this one's smarter than the last one. I'm trying to figure out how I can even come up with a password it will accept. So I start opening an account and it says choose your password. And my first password was Rose, R-O-S-E. Computer says too short. Okay, next try, Pretty Rose, okay. Computer says, no good, you have to have one numeric character. So I enter one Pretty Rose, okay. Computer says, that's no good, you can't have any spaces in there. And besides, you've got to have at least one capital letter. in your password. You ever run into this kind of stuff? Really? I'm telling you. So the next thing I enter is, okay, 1FN pretty rose. I thought the computer, the computer's going to accept that, right? No. Computer says, you got to have a symbol somewhere in there too. All right. 1FN pretty rose shoved right up your asterisk, if you don't give me this password. Computer said, that one's already been taken. Ladies and gentlemen, I just can't win. But thank you very much anyway.
Keep going for Larry, everybody. All right, next up, I believe this is our youngest comedian tonight. He's also retired. He is, these are his words, a half-baked guitarist, among other things. He is a professional woodworker, and he's super funny. He was inspired to get on stage because his son is in Nashville right now. His dream is to become a stand-up comedian. So he's following his son, and I think that is adorable. Please welcome Randy Dollar, everybody.
Oh, wow. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here, all of you. This is so great. It's been so much fun working with Sarah and Lynn. All of the other comedians are so funny, aren't they? Yeah. How about that Larry and the computer stuff? That's the way it is. How do you like my outfit? I wore this shirt when I was in a bluegrass band. You can't hold that against me. I was not the banjo player. This t-shirt came from my son Matthew on Father's Day. It says Dadalorian, because I know you guys can't read that stuff. I saw you hobbling in here. Can I have the senior discount? I'm 61 and a half, I gotta save $10. No, Matthew's very thoughtful. He's a psychologist, so I go to him with the difficult stuff. Like this. It's like, I didn't think I was going to be very funny, Matthew. Everybody in the workshop's going to be funnier than me. He said, well, then you do not have the burden of high expectations, do you? Very thankful for that, too. My other son, John, as Sarah said, is a comic in Nashville. You can follow him, John Dollar Comedy, at Instagram, so do that. While we're talking about comedy, you may not be aware that the great Bob Newhart celebrated his 94th birthday last week. One of my favorite jokes Bob used to tell went like this. He said, I'm not a fan of country music, but I do not denigrate those who are. And for those of you who like country music, denigrate means put down. Anyway, this is a great opportunity, like I said, for me to talk about some things that bother me a little bit. You know, I'm a lucky man. I have a great life. I really shouldn't complain. And yet I do. I'm a retired guy, but I have a part-time job. Really part-time. I work just a few hours a week. So who can complain about that? But I work in a hospital. And I know you're thinking, oh my God, he's not going to be taking care of me, is he? Don't worry, I work at the front desk. So you're safe. But some of the things we do at the front desk can be a little trying once in a while. I mean, it's a great way to connect with my community. I get to see everybody I always knew. Because, you know, eventually we'll all end up there, right? You know. I know you know. But, you know, some of the things that happen there can be a little trying. Like one of the things we handle is the lost and found. You know, and that's natural. You're in the hospital, you're groggy, you don't know what you're doing. Somebody's trying to hurry your ass out of there. But, you know, some of the things we find, like telephones, people leave their phones behind. You come back to find it, it's like, yeah, it's a black Android device. Okay, well, I got like 7 of those. Dentures. People leave their dentures behind. How do you claim that? Okay, can you describe them? They look like teeth. And piercings. I can't tell you how many piercings we get. And did you know people pierce things that are not their ears? Another thing we do at the front desk is answer the telephone. A lot of phone calls come in. Most of them are, you know, standard business. Some of them are not. Thank you for calling the hospital. How can we help you? Hello? Yes, this is the hospital. How can we help you? I was in the emergency room a couple of days ago. And when they took me back in the exam room, the doctor flipped me over. And he got right up in my ass. He found this gigantic, disgusting boil up there. He took a giant needle and he pierced it. And noxious, disgusting fluid went everywhere. It got all over my ass. It got all over the doctor. It got all over the exam room. It was the most humiliating and awful thing that's ever happened to me. They cleaned me up with pre-warm baby wipes. They put a diaper on me. They put me on a bus and sent me home. Thank you for calling the hospital. How can I direct your call? I'm here 3 hours a day. Another thing we do at the front desk is check people in for their outpatient procedures. Which goes pretty much as you'd expect most of the time. People know what they're doing. They know when to be there. And mostly it is Montana. But yeah, we tell you to get there early. So even when you're late, you're on time. Smart people work at the hospital. But it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes it's like this. Welcome to the hospital. How can we help you? I was told to come here. Okay, who told you to come here? My wife. Did she say why? Or she'd slap me? Okay. Was it for surgery, imaging, therapy? Probably. What's your doctor's name? Doc? Okay, have a seat in their waiting room. Somebody will come get you. Psychiatric department. 4:54 p.m. Good luck with that. Well, you know how that goes. Anyway, these are just a few of the things that bother me about my job. You know, otherwise it's great. Like my family's great. I love my family. You know, and I'm a lucky man that way too. Now my original family is all dead. For obvious reasons. Old age or the 70s. But the family I married into is really wonderful. I'm lucky to have them. They're from the Midwest. One of the great things about the Midwest personality is that dry sense of humor. For instance, when my sister-in-law Mary comes to visit, we invite our friend Mary Jane over for Pictionary. Oh, did I mention they're all Catholics? So all the women are named Mary. Yeah, so when Mary Elizabeth from the Midwest comes to visit, Mary Jane from the East Coast comes over to play Pictionary at Mary Ann's daughter's house. It's great. They love each other, but there are some differences. Mary Jane's from the East Coast. She's been in public health all her life. She loves everybody, even those of us who don't really deserve it. You know, like you. Mary Elizabeth from the Midwest, she's been in high finance all her life. It's not her job to love everybody. Mary Jane's a dog lover. Mary Elizabeth, not so much. So during the Pictionary, why the hell is it always Pictionary? I still don't know that. But anyway, Mary Jane looks at Mary Elizabeth and says, you know, dogs can learn to understand up to 600 words in English. To which Mary Elizabeth replies, did you count them? So it's like that. Anyway, whether it's Pictionary or whatever it is, the Midwestern mind sees everything that happens as just a way to get to the next meal. It's always about food. It's, I don't care what it is. Well, while we're talking about food, let me just ask you this. You have this problem like I do. I can't seem to keep my kitchen knife sharp. What the hell is that all about? I had a long career as a woodworker. I can use my Japanese water stones to keep my chisels so damn sharp, they'll cut you if you even look at them wrong. But the kitchen knives, forget it. I don't know what the hell happens here. I mean, what kind of fiber is in that asparagus? Those blades. I mean, are we getting some kind of iron in our diet? I swear to God, I mean, I can take those cheap sharpeners you get from the dang hardware store, and it's like working for an hour to get that thing on there, and it's like I'm trying to cut meat with my finger. What's my family doing to those kitchen knives? I mean, I can understand trying to drive a screw with a butter knife. That's a reasonable replacement, right? But to use a steak knife to hammer a nail, that's probably not reasonable. Replace an engine in an F-150? Anyway, I digress. So, I was talking about moving from one meal to the next constantly. Whether we're talking about doggy language comprehension, or why the hell everybody's named Mary, or, hey, I don't know if Cousin Izzy's alive or dead, but didn't his mom make a wicked chicken gravy? We're always moving from one meal to the next. And I have a theory as to why. My mother-in-law, Mary Ann, she had 5 kids. 5 kids around that dinner table. Catholics, right? And she worked full-time as a nurse. And I don't know how she did it. Constantly working, constantly cooking. She had this black hole of consumerism in that corner of the kitchen. Cutlery in their hot little hands. Hot dish, casserole, my favorite wish. But by the time those kids were grown, she was done, buddy. That kitchen was closed for business. You could do surgery in there. And how'd she keep it that way? She had a plan. You came in that house looking hungry. Have a hot dog! Brilliant, right? No cooking, no messing around, no dishes to clean. Pop that thing in that microwave for 30 seconds, you had yourself a tasty treat. Have a hot dog! Let me lay this out for you, though. It's not as simple as it sounds. Because here's what she's thinking. You're not going to go in there and start frying something that's going to shoot grease all the way across a kitchen that's really just a sparkling shrine to meals gone by. You're not going to bake something that's going to leave a stench wafting in the corners like a forlorn poltergeist or something. Have a hot dog. But here's what happens. You walk in there and approach that ancient refrigerator. You put your hand on that handle, and then it's an Arctic blast of frozen frost hits you in the face, and it's like Admiral Perry's venture to the North Pole. It's like, woo, 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 mush, Admiral, can you find it? I don't know, it's out there somewhere. She said there was a hot dog in there. Mush. Here we go. We're going to find it. I don't know. I don't see it. Where is it? It's out there. It's on the top of that crispy crisper. I know it. There it is. I see it. Mush. We're almost there. Do you see an expiration date? Why are you crazy? It's a hot dog. It's a hot dog. Thank you, Andy.
You're going for Randy, everybody. You will never be able to feed a hot dog to someone again without saying, "Have a hot dog." And that's a good thing. Are you ready for your headliner? This is really special to me. So our next comedian has been on the comedy scene and been a prominent member of the comedy scene for many years. I don't know how many, maybe 5 or 6 or 7. He's our oldest performer tonight, and he is well known for telling street jokes. He has millions of street jokes in his head, and he performs them at comedy nights all the time. When I did this workshop, I approached him and said, hey, what do you think about writing original material for the first time? And he said, I would be bad at it. But it turns out that he's not. He's totally delightful. He's done a million things in his lifetime. I suggest getting a cup of coffee with him sometime. He's built a house from the ground up, for example. He's performed on a riverboat. And I consider him a good friend. Please welcome Bill Bouton, everybody. Come on up, Bill.
Thank you, Sarah. I call my last name Bouton, but I answer to almost anything from Sarah. If this is supposed to be a show for the elder participants, I am way overqualified compared to these youngsters I'm dealing with. 2 weeks ago, I celebrated my 407 years birthday. 20, 40, 60, 80, and 7 makes 87. At this age, I'm glad to be anywhere on this side of the sod. But I'm especially glad to be here with a show put together and created by Sarah Aswell. She's just delightful and the best comic in Montana. And I can't wait to work with her. I'd like to offer a brief discussion on the ill-advised practice of running over oneself with one's own pickup truck. I live in a little retirement community, about 40 homes over on the west side of town. And we're all served by a cluster of mailboxes in one place. This happened 5 years ago. One Friday afternoon, I was driving home late afternoon, and I stopped to check my mail. Pulled up near the mailboxes, slapped the gear shift lever up into park, opened the door and stepped out. But as my foot hit the ground, I noticed that the pavement was moving that way. And I became aware in a split second that I had failed to get the lever all the way up in park. It had stopped in reverse. So my very big and very heavy Dodge pickup was idling backward in reverse. Before I could even think more about it, the door knocked me to the ground, and I hung on to it, probably in the belief that I could slow it down. That didn't work. But the front tire immediately reached out and grabbed my left leg and ran over it. And then it ran over my right leg. And the next minute or two, I don't know how long, it kind of dragged me down the street, repeatedly running over my feet and legs. And there was nothing fun about that. But there came a moment that I can remember very clearly
as I was lying on my back, left foot on top of the tire, stuck between tire and fender, and my right leg and foot under the truck, while the wheel was rolling directly between my legs, headed for some of my favorite places. Well, I squirmed anxiously into a different position so that the tire hit the inside of my thigh, and fortunately my thigh was big enough to act as a chuck, and it stopped the truck. It gave me the chance to evaluate my situation. So I tried to get my leg loose from the tire a couple of times, but every time I'd get an inch away, the tire would take up the slack. It didn't quit. So I decided I needed help, and I hollered help 3 or 4 times loud, because there are probably 4 or 5 homes within 50 or 100 feet. No one heard me, or if they did, no one did anything. I suspect they were probably just insulted that I would upset their dinner hour. But then I was struck with a brilliant idea, because I was wearing a work shirt with a button pocket where my cell phone safely resided. I pulled it out and called my daughter Amy, who lives just 6 or 7 blocks away. Her husband was on his way on his bike in no time, and Amy was driving her truck over, and I had told her where I was and what happened, but she called me back to make sure exactly where I was. Well, I was becoming impatient, as you might imagine. And I said, Amy, I'm right by the mailboxes. I'm the only man under a truck in the whole neighborhood, so you can't miss me. So they both got there and they got me extracted from my predicament, and I brushed myself up and took a couple of tentative steps to prove I could still walk. Amy said, we got to get to the ER right away. I said, no, I'm fine. I'm going home and having a drink. So I got in my truck and drove the block remaining to get home to my garage. Got the truck in the garage, and when my left foot got out of the truck and hit the floor, a bolt of lightning struck that started at my left ankle and came out the top of my head. That convinced me. So I limped into the house, got a glass of scotch, took a pain pill that was left over from some dental procedure, and called Amy, admitting that I agreed we should go to the ER. So she picked me up, and we drove to St. Pat's, and the emergency people accepted me warmly and took me into triage, where they examined me and did everything from pulse to blood pressure to x-rays, and a lot of poking and prodding and questions. And they took very careful care of my legs, one of which was broken and both of which were mashed up pretty good. But then they decided they better do a head exam on me and make sure how badly my head had got knocked around with a concussion protocol. So they asked me the questions: my name, my address, phone number, did I know where I was, did I know what happened? Yeah, I knew. They know how I got here and where was I anyway. I apparently passed that test, and then the doctor said to me, all right now, Mr. Bouton, would it be correct for us to assume that your chief complaint at this time is leg pain? I considered that for a moment, and then I responded. I said, no. My chief complaint is the Trump administration. The doctor smiled and said to his nurse, his head's okay. My phone is vibrating, and I have something I need to say about phones, but I wanted to mention for anybody that needs to know, that door leads to some bathrooms, and I went in there, and there's one room marked multi-sex bathroom. Well, I'm only one sex, but I went in there and used it anyway and got away with it. I consider myself fortunate there were no Republican legislators. I often say I think that cell phones should be sold along with a sledgehammer. They upset me because I worry about what they're doing to our society. They are smothering conversation and language. People get so involved with their phones, you need only walk into any bar or restaurant in town, look around and see where people are looking. They're all like this. They're not having conversation with their companion or even the bartender. They're just welded to their phone. It's a phone-centric society all of a sudden. I worry about the features on the telephone that make all this possible, but I'm the first to grant that iPhones have some good features, like the camera. I think the camera on phones is excellent, and I think everybody ought to have one with them. I also think that the fundamental principle and reason for a phone is worthy of our attention. You know, calling or receiving a call from someone and having a conversation, just exchanging some information. And I know I should hasten to add that for anyone careless or stupid enough to run over himself and get pinned under his own truck, it's well worth carrying a cell phone for emergency. You know, the language that cell phones and other digital media have created is a language of their own, but not a useful one, not an effective one, filled with emojis and acronyms and abbreviations of all kinds. I don't understand any of them. The first one I ever heard of was LOL, and since then, I don't think I have ever even had a smile from any piece of writing that was annotated by LOL. Now, I read a lot, and after 30 years as a copy editor, I have developed a sincere love and dedication to the English language, and I'm a great defender of it. I get worried when it gets abused. My telephone makes errors that are very irritating to me. For example, I can punch in a text message and my phone insists on capitalizing the first letter of every line, whether it's a new sentence or not. It's saying, no, it ought to be capitalized, so I have to go back and correct that, of course. Worse than that, sometimes when I type the possessive word it's, I-T-S, the phone has the audacity to stick an apostrophe between the T and the S. That makes me want to reach for my sledgehammer. Now, I find that with all these emojis and words that are abbreviated and so forth, that what's missing is any relevance to me or my generation. However, I'm willing to join them, if only briefly. They say if you can't beat them, join them. I'll join for just a moment to add a couple of acronyms of my own that may be useful to our elder generation as we march together to our destiny. Let's start with TTTMM, time to take my meds. Or SYAPT, see you at physical therapy. Or if you're in a real hurry, GCMD, gotta change my depends. Seriously though, as out of concern for the importance of reading and literature and the value of language, I feel obligated to convey a small piece of wisdom, if I can, with an acronym of my own that goes like this. If you go home some night with someone and they don't have books, DFT, don't fuck them. That has a pet monkey in their house. Trust me, you just don't want to get involved. So remember that acronym, DFT. And when used appropriately, it will stand you in good stead, and you will thank me. And with that, I thank you.
Keep it over, Bill, everybody. And let's hear it for all of our comics tonight. I don't want to get too serious, but I do want to say that I was so inspired by this group. If you're thinking about trying something at this point in your life and you think you're too old or you're too tired, take inspiration from these people who've been filled with energy for the last month in this workshop and tackled something that they didn't know anything about, and just they did it. And yeah, it's really good.